Hey everybody, my name is Dr. Whitney Kosters, and I am an English professor, and I have been teaching writing courses for the past 20 years. If you clicked on this video, there's a good chance one of two things have just happened. Either you were asked to complete a professional peer review and realized no one's ever actually explained what that means to you, or you regularly have reports land in front of you and you're expected to read them, evaluate them, and respond thoughtfully, often under time pressure and with real consequences attached. This lecture is for both of those situations because here is the core problem. Most people have done peer reviews before, but almost all of that experience was academic. You traded papers, corrected grammar, wrote comments like "this is clear," and then you moved on. That experience does not prepare anyone for professional peer review. In professional settings, peer review is about determining whether a report can be relied on. That distinction matters more than most people realize. When reports circulate in real organizations, they're almost always reviewed before they're finalized by a colleague, a supervisor, someone in another department, or the very person who will later be held accountable for acting on the information in that report. So that means your reader is always reading like someone who needs the document to work. So a professional peer review is the process of reading a report as a real user and reporting back on how well it functions for its intended purpose and audience. The goal isn't to rewrite the document, fix grammar, punctuation, or sentence level style. It's not an evaluation or whether you personally like the topic, nor is it whether you would have written the report differently. The goal is to surface what a real reader would notice, rely on, question, or struggle with. In other words, professional peer review asks one central question. If someone had to make a decision using this report, would they be able to do so responsibly without guessing? Everything else flows from that. Now, professional peer review always involves two deliberate reads, and both matter. On the first read, you read the entire report straight through without commenting or marking up the report, because the purpose of this read is simply orientation. As you read, you should be asking yourself very basic questions. Do I understand what this report is about, why it exists, and what it is and isn't trying to do? If I had to explain this report to someone else in one or two sentences, could I? If the answer to any of those questions is no, that's information the writer needs. After the first read, pause and notice your overall sense of clarity or confusion. On the second read, slow down and become more deliberate, but still don't try to comment on everything because professional reviewers prioritize. Move through the report section by section and ask the kinds of questions real readers actually ask, such as, is the purpose clear right away or do I have to infer it? Do I know what I'm supposed to understand by the end of this document? And if not, where does the confusion start? Very quickly after that, ask about boundaries. Do I know what time period this report covers? Do I know what population, location, or system it's focused on? Do I know what's included and intentionally excluded? If scope feels vague, delayed, or implied instead of stated, that's something to flag. Then, as you move into the body of the report, ask, if I were short on time, would I know where to look first? Do the headings help me navigate or do they feel generic? Is important information easy to find or does it feel buried? And when findings appear, ask, is this section explaining patterns and significance or is it just mostly listing information? Am I being told what matters or am I being left to figure it out myself? If you notice yourself doing a lot of interpretive work, that's worth pointing out. And then when visuals appear, ask, what am I supposed to notice here? Is that explained clearly in the text? Are the visuals placed where they're discussed, or do I have to flip back and forth? And do they support the explanation, or do they risk being misread? As the report continues, pay attention to confidence and tone. Ask yourself, how certain does this report sound? Does that level of certainty match the evidence being presented? Are limitations or uncertainty acknowledged in a way that helps me trust the report more, or are they minimized in a way that makes me uneasy? And finally, by the end of the report, ask one final question. If I had to rely on this report later, would I trust it? That trust is built through clarity, organization, tone, documentation, and proportionality, and your peer review should help the writer see whether that trust is being built or undermined. Now, I know this lecture includes a lot of guiding questions which can overwhelm, so to make the process easier, a downloadable professional peer review guide is included for reference and it's linked below. It can be used at any point during the peer review process. And if you are specifically looking for guidance on how to conduct a traditional academic peer review, a separate lecture covering that process is linked below as well, since, as I mentioned earlier, traditional peer review operates very differently from professional peer review. Now let's talk about writing the peer review itself. A professional peer review should be written as a professional response to the writer, not as a checklist or a list of corrections. Start with a brief overall assessment that describes how the report functions as an informational document. Then respond to selected questions from the peer review guide, pasting the question above each response so your feedback is easy to follow. Be sure to avoid vague comments such as "this is good" or "this is confusing." Feedback like this does not help a writer revise because it offers no concrete direction. Effective peer review requires specificity, so the writer can see exactly what needs to change, since internal reactions and intentions are not visible to the reader. Instead, explain why something works or why it doesn't, and when possible, refer to specific sections of the report. Focus on purpose, scope, organization, use of information, visuals, limitations, tone, and overall usability. Keep in mind that you're not expected to answer every question, since professional peer reviewers prioritize, as I said earlier. Respond to the issues that will most help the writer revise the report so it works more effectively for real readers. This practice will benefit both sides. Writers receive feedback that reflects how reports are actually read in professional settings, and reviewers sharpen their ability to read critically, notice structure, and evaluate how information functions inside a document. Most importantly, this mirrors what happens beyond school. In the workplace, reports are constantly reviewed, questioned, and revised before they're finalized. Learning how to participate in that process is a transferable professional skill, so I do hope this lecture will help you in whatever endeavor you may encounter in both school and the workplace. Feel free to ask any questions in the comment section below, and as always, thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to check out my library of videos, which include a variety of lectures on literature, research, report writing, and writing more broadly. I hope to see you in the next one. Be well.